Hi. Hey, folks. We're going to go ahead and start class now. If you're joining us live, I'm going to discuss chapter 1 out of your readings. And I do have some slides that I show for pictures. I'm going to try to save that as a PDF format so it takes up less data. And then I'm going to put it up on our Google Classroom. But it's kind of slow for me to do that on the Chromebook, so you're going to have to be patient. Otherwise, I have terms on the board that we're going to discuss. Go ahead and keep along with us. And I'm going to take pictures of that and, of course, share those pictures of our board notes on Google Classroom. Next week, we're going to discuss chapter 2. So this weekend, it'd be a good idea to go ahead and read over that. And then next week, I also want to start giving you information on our first quiz, which is not next week, but it's probably going to be the next week after that. So, all right, let's go ahead and begin. So, chapter 1. So, Western civilization, ancient Greece and Rome. So, Greek myths to the Persian wars. So, before I go over my portion of this, I like to hear. Well, no, I'll go ahead and go first. So, and then I'm going to go back and look with you. So, myths. Why do you think myths are important?
They're how older people saw how things were made, how things were treated.
Okay, so yeah, explanations for why things are and origins and things like that. And that's true. That's true. Now, are myths? Why would a myth, though, be important and last longer than, say, people who might have had more primitive reasons than that? Why do we care if we're like, things are more complicated than that? We know better. So why would we care? Yeah.
Because they had morals or stuff like that. Like they had a theme. I don't know.
No. That's part of it. I think you're right. I think morality is a big part of it. It really is. Because that's the thing. Even if you have your own moral underpinnings, right? And you've been raised a certain way and you have a good belief structure, sometimes it's good to have these things reinforced through other methods. Because it can give you a new way to explain things and understand the world around you. And that's what I said. That's why we study history. History makes the world around us more understandable. So, but yeah, I agree with both of you. And another thing about myths is that myths are often layered, right? They're complicated. You can look at it at the simple way, but you could also break it down and you could look at it in a way that's more sophisticated. It actually has a deeper meaning than that. I mean, people do this all the time with, say, religious text. You'll have a story that's a simple story, but then you can also delve deeper into them.
Like parables?
Exactly, yeah, like parables. Yeah, you could look at the Sermon on the Mount, and you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, he's talking about being nice to one another, blah, blah, blah. But you could also take it to mean something deeper than even that. So, see the next slide. All right, so often myths were told in the form of stories. Yes, your readings are correct that these things were often handed down from a father to the children or a mother to the children, but also they were handed down through poetic form. Now the Greeks didn't rhyme whenever they made poetry. Neither did the Romans when they did Latin. It was more about meter. You know how words can have long and short vowels? Well, what the Greeks and the Romans would do whenever they made poetry is they'd make it into a beat, like a song. So it'd be long vowel, short, long vowel, short. And they'd scramble their words up to keep that meter going. Well, one of the reasons why you use poetry is it can be a memory device. Think about little kids. Think about your time in kindergarten. Do you remember any songs from kindergarten? See, what about the alphabet? everybody learns the alphabet song because it's easier to learn the alphabet song than it is to learn the order of the letters, right? Or to like scramble them up and try to remember them some other way. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's songs for all kinds of things. There's songs for brushing your teeth, tying your shoes. Yeah.
And throws away.
I prefer it if
clean
we
up song.
clean up song. Yeah, clean up. Yeah, everybody knows that one. So, it helps out a lot. It really does. Well, see, myths can also help preserve history for people who couldn't write yet. There's one thing we know, guys. There's one thing that we do know. All right. Hey, Timothy. It's okay. You can. That's Oedipus. Like that one that looked like a weird D thing, like an A or whatever. It's Aedipus. So it's like, we call that a diphthong. Whenever you put the two vowels together in Latin or Greek, they make a different sound. But don't worry about that. So back to what I was saying. Poems help you remember things. Meter and songs help you remember things. Hey, does anybody want lunch today?
No,
I brought my lunch.
I brought some chips.
I want some milk.
You gotta have the whole thing.
How much does it cost?
It's going on your dad and mom has gone at 12.
Yeah, you gotta go K through 12.
K-12, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the website.
Yeah.
Everybody's supposed to have an account in case you have to pay for something else.
Some people's are free, some people's are discounted, some people have to pay. I don't know any of that information, that's not mine.
Yeah, your parents are supposed to fill out.
I just got some chips.
Okay, so nobody then, I'm not gonna cook for anybody.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
What was
thank
for
you.
lunch then? Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's too late. Hey,
Right there,
all right, so one of the reasons why they do this is help with memory. And it's not just to help you remember, it's to help the next generation remember, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. They've actually found that people who come from illiterate societies, who pass on their family history or their society's history through poem and song, it doesn't change over time. It's almost as effective as writing it down. Like there's people in Eastern Europe, not that long ago, they would have bards still that would go town to town and they would sing about stories of ancient kings and stuff. And they would compare it to visitors who wrote down those songs in the past, and they changed very little. Native Americans here used to do that. Sit around the campfire and the elders would talk about their history. So oral history isn't inaccurate. And myth is kind of part of that. And so this is supposed to be a painting where you have the blind poet Homer telling people probably about, like, I don't know, like
He's hard.
either about the Iliad or the Odyssey. All right, so this is supposed to be an artist's interpretation of Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus is a real mountain, but no, it doesn't have like a magic palace on top. So
Well, that's not
supposedly,
fair.
yeah, I'm sorry. If you climb up there, you'll probably just find more rocks.
You're cheating.
So the myth has it that
Why did they give us Photoshop?
give us what?
They gave us Photoshop.
It goes exactly. So you can make up your own Mount Olympus. So the story goes that the Greek gods lived up there. Zeus was the king of them. I'll show you all a Greek creation myth video another time. And so Zeus was the king, and he had a wife Hera, and of course he had his brother Scissors and his children and all these other things up there. And they were kept alive because birds would bring something called ambrosia. It's supposed to be like some kind of drink that kept them alive forever.
I thought it was nectar that was the drink. Ambrosia was some kind of fruit.
It's a nectar, the way, at least that's the way like one of the plays had it. It's called the birds. So they stayed up there, living forever. They were all characterized by like certain features. They weren't like normal people. So like they all had like extreme emotions in one direction or another. And they were all petty. They didn't care about human beings like one bit. So don't think of, when you think of like the Greeks and religion, a Greek worshipped a god not because they loved the god. Greeks didn't love gods. They thought that was stupid. They were fearful of them, so they tried to make bargains with them to get favors. And so you find this with like other pagan religions too, and polytheists. So like you find this with like Baal worshippers in the Middle East and stuff like that around this time too. So they're making sacrifices, which is like a bargain for something that they fear to get something that they want. So it was very different from like you might say Judeo-Christian religion, you know. So all right, so this is from an Athenian piece of pottery that was decorated with art. And so this is a picture of Beithon. You see he's on the chariot, which is supposed to, bring up the sun. And as he's bringing it up, he ends up crashing the thing.
Or it makes it go down, and then it starts turning all the towns into ashes, and then Zeus threw a lightning bolt at him, and it fell out to the stream or whatever.
Now, why is this important? Why would the Greeks tell a story about a boy doing something like this and dying?
So then people wouldn't like try to bargain with that again to get each other right.
Okay. So be careful what you ask for. Okay. Anybody else? Well, there's one thing that was the worst vice in the eyes of the Greeks, and it was called hubris. And hubris in our terms would be arrogance, right? So somebody's hubristic, they're arrogant. And so he's falling into the trap of arrogance to think that he, a little mortal, a human being who's going to die one day, could be like a god. And so that was one of the chief morals of the Greeks was remember that you're a person, you're not a god. And so Beithon didn't remember that. He thought he could live like a god too. And so he was struck down for his arrogance, essentially, because his arrogance was going to destroy the world. And arrogant people really do break up a lot of things around you. Like if somebody's like really, really into themselves, they kind of make everything suck. And it's just how it is. I mean, anybody who's ever been around somebody like that has watched them help make things fail because they don't know their limits. Now, Greeks did love excellence, though. They loved people who were great at things, but they didn't want you to be puffed up about it, so self-centered. All right, next one. What do you think this one is?
What even is that? I can sell it.
This is chiseled out of bronze.
Looking at the stones.
Yeah, look, they
Oh,
blindfold themselves.
and
And look what's coming out of the rocks.
Babies.
There it is, yeah, fat babies.
Oh, that's what they were
Popping
talking
right out of the rocks.
Go.
So,
You can see her throwing herself. Her arm. It looks. It's like this. It's like
Yes.
that looks so like.
she's really checking it. I hope she didn't hit the ones behind her. So,
Yeah,
I know, imagine you just started like killing the babies because you kept hitting them with rocks.
Well,
well, maybe when it lands, it'll just be another baby.
Hopefully
laying
they
on
turn into
baby.
babies.
So it'll just be baby sandwiches.
Just be baby.
But then, so this is the story of Cecilia and Shira. So how did they end up in this circumstance where they're throwing rocks in the first place? Why would they do
Because they're
something?
the only two good humans left alive.
Yeah.
Because of
Apply.
a flood. Yeah, so there's a lot of cultures, like I might have mentioned the other day, that have that had flood myths. They're called deluge myths. In the Bible, we have Noah and the flooding of the earth, as everybody most people around here know that one. Ancient Babylonians had their own flood myths. A lot of cultures had flood myths. That's one cool thing about it. Is like a lot of religions in the world talk about the big flood. Like I think there's a Buddhist version and stuff like this. You get a Greek version here. So everybody dies, right? Except for these two. And they're like, what are we going to do? So
Make babies.
Yep, but they don't do it like biologically. So they're very pious people. They go to the temple, and so they're doing their Greek temple thing. And they get an answer, and the answer is something about. At first, it sounded crazy to them. They're like, I can't do that.
There's
Something about their bones, like
of their
because
mother.
Yeah.
They're like, gross. We're not doing that.
We're not gonna dig up the grave of our mom just to throw some bones.
But then,
The husband was like, oh, what if he means stones because the earth is our mom?
and so
Yeet. And then
they
they
cast them behind them. Well, here's what I think. I think this is figurative or something. They're not just saying like, wouldn't it be weird if we had a story about people throwing rocks and they popped out babies? No. The bones of your mother, you could say this. It's not just the bones of your mother. Everything about us is made by our ancestors, right?
Yeah.
Our language, our culture, the fact we have stability and peace around us. Like this place around here, this used to be all pine woods forest back in the day. There was nothing out here but just deer and trees. But it's cultivated now. It's landscaped. You can drive on it because of the work and the bones of our ancestors. And they're walking forward blindly. All of us walk forward blindly. Hey Timothy, can you sit up for me? Thanks. Everybody goes into the future with blinders on. You never know what's going to happen. All you know is that the stuff that's already there, somebody else got ready for you. And so the babies are behind you. And when you're walking forward, you don't know what's going to happen to your children one day, because they're going to be blind too. So there's like all kinds of things you could take into this. And we all live through that. All of us live through that.
I wonder if they left an avalanche.
A baby lanch? I don't know. I mean, I guess if you worked hard enough.
What if you threw a bunch of rocks? Yeah, what if you had an avalanche and then it just all turned into babies?
What if you
There's a
threw
whole bunch of
pebbles?
babies
Would it-
rolling down a
Would it just be like keeper elves or something? I don't know.
Would it just be the one rock that you threw down the hill? And then you
What if they touched a whole bunch of rocks? And then
That's like saying, what if they had teamwork and they threw a boulder behind
a giant
big baby,
Yeah.
big baby.
it? And all right, the reason I've shown you this map is this myth also explains the different tribes of the different kinds of Greeks. So you got the Achaeans, the Aeolians, the Dorians, the Ionians. You don't really need to know that. It's going to come up in our readings. But when you read Homer, Homer likes to talk in the Iliad about the bronze-armed Achaeans. And so those are the people who are the Greeks in orange here who go to attack Troy. So he's talking about Achaeans, and they talk about like the king of Sparta and stuff like that. These are the Greeks who are going to be in the Iliad when you read that. So that's why I showed you that, because you gotta read it, and it's a good thing to read. All right, here's another picture from an ancient Greek mythology piece, and here you have somebody stabbing an animal head guy.
You're lanky.
Theseus.
Yeah, Theseus. King Theseus, the ancient mythological king of Athens. He was kind of like a second Hercules, really, they said. And he's slaying, is that a unicorn man? It almost looks like a unicorn man with like a really round
I think
face.
it's supposed to be his ear.
Yeah, it looks like I don't know. It kind of like
Or maybe that's a bull. Like maybe he has two of them, but you can only see one because of his ear.
Hey, who do you think that guy is on the right? The guy saying, wait, hold on a second.
That's what's
Moses?
Moses.
He's
Oh,
the
yeah.
king. King Minos. Minos.
So, I need the hood off.
or Minos.
Jake, I need the hood off.
Is
And
it
earbud
Minos
out.
or Minos? Sir? Hood.
And earbud, thanks. All right, so, yeah, King Minos. And the thing is, they think King Minos might have been a real king. I mean, they know he didn't have, like,
I'm
circus
actually.
freak people eating other people, which would be like really tough. But he was, so I mean, he really was known as the king of an island called Crete. We're going to talk about that later. That's where some of the first civilized Greeks lived. And so, yeah, the story of Theseus, he comes around, he wants to be brave. He's going off on an adventure story because young men are supposed to go off on an adventure. Whenever you come of age, you're supposed to leave home and you're supposed to do something. That doesn't mean you go out killing like circus freaks, cannibal people things, but I mean, it can mean other things. You know, if you're going out and get a job and stuff like that, you gotta move on. Theseus is doing the ultimate one.
How does an herbivore and an omnivore make a carnivore?
I guess somehow, like if you combine the two, it comes out into meat.
It's like negative times negative is positive.
I guess it is. I don't know. So yeah, he's on his adventure story, and he turns out for the best for it because he's not just strong. He's not just brave. He relies on others, and so who is he relying on here?
His girlfriend. What's her face?
Is it,
Let me look.
This Audrey.
It's her name is with an A.
Yeah, I forgot. Where is it? It's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, Ariadne. So yeah, Ariadne. So she's wise. She's helping him out, and he doesn't have all the answers. So he's social. So he's not just like a brute going in there, you know, like Rambo style, shooting up the whole place. He's asking for help, and so she's like, "Hey, I have strength. Just use it." And so he uses it, and it helps get out of the labyrinth. So she's like his anchor to get him out of this like confusing thing. Come on, thing, change. Isn't that froze up on me?
Is that all?
Oh, it didn't freeze up on me. Yeah, I think it's all over.
Can you make it to where we can see the people that are on that slab?
No, because then I wouldn't be able to use this. So, just the way it is.
What, who's all on it?
4 people, but it doesn't say here. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when we do the testing, I'll know who done it. All right. I don't remember if that was the right one or not. I got so many of these things. So, yeah. So, like you already mentioned, Europa, a poor young girl, Zeus, who is well known for shape shifting, hauls the poor thing off to another continent, and then it's named Europe.
And gets her pregnant.
Yeah, that was part of it. Yeah, that was part of it. Hey, this is the island of Crete.
No, she gave birth to King Minos after Zeus.
Ah, okay. So you know better than I do. I'm not really a myth guy.
It says in the book.
Ah, I see. Here's the island of Crete. There's a lot of ancient ruins there today. See, it's very pretty. Yeah, it looks nice. It's like vacation worthy. You go there and just get lost.
I just want to like sit in that one.
Let's see.
I've seen that place before.
What?
It reminds me of that one time I saw sea turtles.
Look, see, the ruins are still here today. And these are super ancient ruins. See, now that paint is a new addition, but we do know that they painted. In fact, a lot of the pyramids were actually painted. A lot of Greek cities that look like they're like just white, bleached marble, they're actually, they were actually painted for the most part, like the Parthenon. See, that's a new addition. What was this one? I forgot. There's the Minotaur again. Oh, yeah, that's another one. This is where he finds the sword. So he's like deadlifting that boulder, and he's like, "What? There's a sword down there." And she's like, "I told you." Here he is, like brutal. Looks like he's stabbing the head on that thing. So,
Oh yeah, he cut off its head.
Those cows.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I guess that's one way you do it. Here's Europa. She's like, "Please let me down." He's
She
like,
looks like she's 5.
Yeah.
yeah, that just got a little weirder. All right, here she is again.
She looks a little bit older this time.
Yeah, now she looks like I don't know. She's got a big head. It's a big head. Oh wait.
Oh, the Sphinx.
Yeah, Oedipus and Sphinx. They're outside of the city. This city is north of a place called Athens, called Thebes, right? And so the Sphinx would sit outside, and what would the Sphinx do?
Ask them a question, and if
No,
they
like,
got it
give
wrong,
them
she
a
would
riddle.
eat them.
Yes, gobble them up.
I'm like,
And
most
so-
of the time, none of them.
And it was something like,
What
what?
What walks on 2 feet at night?
No, it was
Four.
4 feet in the morning,
And
2
then
feet at
2
noon, 3
Yeah.
feet at night.
Something like that.
It was made.
And yes, peoples. Yeah, so people were
We
like
crawl as a baby,
babies,
walk as a
and then
adult,
we're
use a cane.
grown-ups, and then we're like hobbling grown-ups. And so, yeah, and so the Sphinx was so mad that even though it had wings, it kind of like jumped to its death. So, okay.
Yeah, I got so upset.
So some things happened. But hey, King Oedipus is also famous because he was a very famous play where he wound up. Yeah, he took out his own eyes because he accidentally married his mother.
How does that happen?
I guess you'd have to watch it like a theater concert or something. All right, so here's another where he's talking to the Sphinx. Very, very skinny Sphinx. So the Sphinx,
Very light.
it doesn't look like it said a riddle in a while. It's like pretty bony. So okay.
Oh, I get it.
He looks like he's strutting up there.
Is it supposed
Yeah,
to be
he's
like-
doing all right.
What gender is that?
Why is one of his
supposed to be?
feet so small? Why is the other one so big?
He's got a beard.
Look at his feet.
Oh yeah, we'll see. The thing is,
What's the thingamajigger on
One
the
foot
leg?
is like.
Oh, that-
and
that-
that's
it's got a woman's head. But here's the thing, it's like a creature, right? It's like a monster, so it probably kind of doesn't have one. Here's a baby.
Heracles killing his snakes while
Yeah.
his brother's like.
Snake bit, yeah. So the moral of this story is you don't put snakes in baby cribs. So don't do that. It doesn't
Or
work
you
that
just
well.
close
Doesn't
the
he got
door.
one wrapped around his wrist too?
Yeah, I see that there. Yeah, so he's like, no, not today, snake.
It was not even 8 months.
Yeah. So he was still like pretty little.
Hydra.
Yeah,
So
yes.
that's him and his nephew.
And so yeah, no matter how many times they tried to like tackle this problem and just cut it off,
Liberty, liberty.
Knew
how
him.
they stopped it was stopping it at the source, and that's by burning it. All right.
And then one of the heads was a warlord.
So they conquer that. Here he is wearing the lion skin
Heracles.
on his head, and so you're going to see this come time and again. You're going to see all the way throughout time, all the way up until, gosh, like into the late Roman Empire. People are going to wear lion skins like this to try to symbolize themselves as like a new Hercules, right? That one's for tomorrow. All right, so. Hey, what time's my soda?
9:50.
Okay, we gotta hurry. All right, let me get the notes down here for you. I'll tell you then I thought. So, Mount Olympus. This was the home of.
The
God.
Yeah, that's easy. And we're gonna say little g because these are like
Little g?
polytheistic, like just they have a whole bunch of them, right?
Oh, I already answered
That
that.
was like a hobbit.
Cool.
I mean, not a hobbit. I have it to put God as a capital G for me.
Well, yeah, because that's what you do when you're talking about.
Swaps.
Yeah. All right, so Beithon. What did you
Apollo or Helios.
That was Apollo's
son.
son, wasn't it?
do? Yep, Apollo's son.
Some say it's like Helios or Helios' son.
Yeah, because
Others, some say God. I mean, Apollo is music and like medicine, and Helion, whatever his name is, and then he has 2 sisters that rule the day and the night.
well, yeah. See, that's the thing. Like
It's like
Apollo and the
day-
sun was the same thing to some people.
It's Helios, dawn, and night.
So
And her name
Apollo's
is like
son.
Celeste. I'm sure.
And what was his story? What did he do?
He rode the chariot and
And
died.
he was the
And
first
got
epic
killed
fail.
by Zeus.
First
Yeah,
epic fail.
died trying
Tree.
to drive
You're white. Really?
the sun chariot. So yeah, we already talked the moral of that. And he crashed the earth, and his sisters cried, and became something called poplar trees. I'll show you a picture.
And
of
I'm pretty sure it was like their tears became like sap or something.
yeah,
Have you ever seen Futurama?
like 10 years ago. I mean, all right, so
Oh.
I know
these
what
two.
it was.
Basically,
The
Noah
West-
and his wife, but with more rocks and babies.
all right, yeah. So we have Greek flood story.
I don't like that, like the way he is like clothed. It makes like really swollen human fingers.
Hmm.
Doesn't look like
And
Yeah,
started
mine. It looks like
I can
very
hear
fat.
the
Swollen.
Greek people. I'll just say. So they threw the rocks and made the new Greek tribes. So Theseus. That's absolutely correct. So king of Athens. And Athens is going to be known for democracy, but most societies start out with kings, right?
Yeah.
So, king of Athens,
Oh, he's the king of Athens?
Yeah.
I thought he was just a favorite of Athens.
and he's he's got. We're probably gonna see him again.
Then he became.
He's a prince, and yeah, he'll become the king. And so, king of Athens defeats in his own hero story, his journey into manhood. He defeats the Minotaur. I'll probably misspelled it. Whatever. You know what? The cowhead guy. All right. Europa. Poor girl. So she was carried off by who?
Zeus.
Yeah.
He was kind of done bad things.
What?
Yeah, the Greeks like their bad
He spelled
story.
Zeus backward. It's E-U-S. Are you dyslexic by any chance?
Yeah. But it's okay. I type. There. So
There. Yeah.
But I mean, the cool thing about dyslexia, as long as you keep trying, your reading and writing gets better.
Carried off of Zeus?
Yeah, and that's what
I
you're
think he
saying
means
now.
carried off by Zeus.
Yeah,
In the-
you're right.
It doesn't.
We'll add that addition.
I was like, what?
Yeah. All right, so Oedipus Rex, King Oedipus.
He outsmarts the Sphinx with those 1,000 IQ.
That's right. Not all of their heroes were like great warriors. Some of them were just crafty.
Some of
So
them are just smart. I remember Athena really likes the smart ones that are kind of mischievous. I forgot what his name was, but he like lied about his reason for being somewhere, and she's like, she like just wheezed. She left.
Huh.
It was in the book that we were supposed to read.
Uh
I didn't finish it.
oh.
I still wrote the paper. You don't really need to know everything about it to know what it's about.
See. Heracles. So Hercules. So he did
Hercules.
12 watts.
He killed his whole family, and then he did the 12 labors of the tongue.
Yes. So we're gonna say son of Zeus. So yeah, this is like a story of atonement, right? He's
Yeah.
trying to make he's trying to repent for like the things he did. So Zeus did 12 labors. For goodness. Oops. All right, so did everybody get it down? Timothy, get your notes. And make sure you get it all down, everybody. So it's pretty short. Like, see, there's a few terms here. Hey, if you're on live, I'm going to pick this up and take pictures of it and try to get it in for you later today. Thank you.
Oh no. Well, no, I mean